What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the world according to Briggs and a look at the great city of Denver, Colorado. A lot of people think Denver is a mountain city or a mountain town, whatever. It is not. Denver is near the mountains, just not in them. There's like 200 named peaks visible from Denver, so it kind of gives a lot of people that illusion if they're there. But it really is exactly 1 mile high, and that's how it gets its nickname, the Mile High City. And they got that nickname long before they legalized that herb. If you haven't watched any of our What's Up videos, these are explainer videos where we give you some facts and trivias about different cities. We look at the history, the neighborhoods, the demographics, tourist spots, food, and a few other things. All right, let's see what's up with Denver, Colorado. Denver is a fairly new city by US standards. Denver's history is short but colorful. I mean, the place has only been around since the mid-1800s. It started off as a gold mining town called Montana City. When the gold dried up, it was abandoned. Some historians say by early 1858, not a single person was living at the site. Well, in late 1858, two dudes showed up. Those dudes were General William Larimer and Captain Jonathan Cox. Both were land speculators. They settled the area and named the city after Kansas Territorial Governor James W. Denver. A few years later, in 1861, Denver was incorporated into a city. A lot of other interesting things happened around there, like a silver rush and, a bunch of criminal Old West type stuff, including Jefferson Randolph Soapy Smith. He was a con artist who got the nickname Soapy because he used to sell soap with money inside it. So you could, buy some soap and maybe win $10 or something like that. Well, he had all the local officials in his pocket, so he could do whatever he want, and he kind of did for a long time. Denver was his town. But the silver crashed and the gold was all dried up. Denver survived. The city of Denver in 2000 had a population of 554,000 residents. In 2020, that jumped up to 715,000. Now that's just the city of Denver. The entire metro area has about 3 million residents. Now there seems to be a little confusion on what a metro area is, judging by the comments I get. The city itself is its own thing, but the metro area includes the little suburbs and things like that. The unincorporated areas, whatever. I don't know how many times I've gotten the question, what's a metro area? The demographics of Denver are changing. In the 1940s, it was almost 98% white, no Hispanics, and about 2.4% black and 0.2% Asian. Well, that's changed over the years. And in 2020, the white population was 54.9%, Hispanic or Latino was 29.3%, the black population is almost 10%, and they have mixed at 3.3%, and Asian is 4.1%. Here's an interesting fact on there. Almost 30% of Denver's population is bilingual. Like we had said, Denver started off as a mining camp, town, whatever you want to call it. And once all that dried up, they had to change their ways. Well, they switched to kind of a transportation thing. They had a rail line that went through there from Wyoming all the way out to Kansas. Came a supply place for miners that worked in different mines outside the Denver area. Denver was the largest city within 500 miles, so it became a great location for storage and distribution of goods and services for the mountain and southwest states. Energy and mining are still a big part of Denver's economy. They have giant corporations like Frontier Airlines, the Shane Company, the jewelry place. They sold their first diamond jewelry in Denver in 1971. These days, the largest employers in the Denver area are number 1, the US government, number 2, the state of Colorado, number 3, Walmart stores, number 4, the University of Colorado system, Centura Health, number 6 is Denver Public School System, then you got Health One Corporation, SC Health Systems, Comcast Corporation, which they're all the way down to number 12. So they've got a variety of places you could work. A lot of them have to do with healthcare or government. Denver is often considered one of the best places for business and careers. In 2015, then again in 2017, they were ranked the best place for business and careers. So our neighborhood section comes with a little disclaimer. When we do this, we go by a livability score, and that's basically you take all the stats and you rank them. We also use the name of the actual neighborhood because these videos are designed for someone that may want to look it up on a map. And if you look at Google, this is the name of the neighborhood that we're talking about. In most cases, it's exactly what the city knows it as. The locals sometimes know it as something different. And when it comes to good and bad neighborhoods in Denver, just like any other place, you probably have 20 of each to choose from. 20 good neighborhoods, 20 bad neighborhoods. And if you ask 100 different locals, which are the best, which are the worst, you're going to get 100 different answers. So we pick a couple from the metro area, which in this case will include Aurora, Centennial, Arvada. We pick some of the nicer neighborhoods and we give you the stats, things like that. So let's take a look. When we look at the best places to live, the one that jumps out is Talon's Reach. It's in Aurora, Colorado, and it has a livability score of 84. That's pretty good. Anything below, like, I'd say 60 is when it starts sucking. I've actually seen some in Detroit that have a livability score of like 32. And honestly, it's considered bad if it's below 60. Anyway, they have a livability score of 84. Their biggest knock is it's expensive to live here. Their cost of living is 34% higher than the national average, and housing is 104% higher than the national average. If you want to buy a house in this community, you're looking at least $600,000 to $800,000. They do have properties that are over $1 million, but 6 to 8 is what you should be expecting to pay if you want to live here. Their crime rate is next to nothing. It's actually 25% lower than the national average. Their violent crime rate is 58% lower than the national average. Not bad. Even more good news, if you've got kids here, their schools get graded an A+. Just outside of Talon's Reach, you got Cherokee Trail High School along with Fox Ridge Middle School. They're right there. This is in an area that's growing. I mean, they've got everything you need in this area. New housing areas are going up. Different websites have like rating things for neighborhoods, sort of like Yelp reviews for a neighborhood. I've read nothing but great things about this area. There might be some others that other people consider better, but this one has the best stats. When you're looking at the worst neighborhoods to choose from in Denver, keep one thing in mind. Denver's not that bad of a place to live. There are way worse places in the United States. East St. Louis, Southside Chicago, Detroit, Camden, New Jersey. Denver is definitely not one of the worst cities we have in the United States. As a matter of fact, some of their worst neighborhoods would be considered really nice neighborhoods in some of those cities I just mentioned. But we got to pick probably one that's the worst. And there's actually a couple you could consider. There's like 5 Points. They have a high crime rate, but everything else is kind of decent. You have Capitol Hill that has some serious crime and some other issues, but we're sticking with Central West Denver. They got about 50,000 people living here. Their livability score is 57. Their total crime rate is 259% higher than the national average, and their violent crime rate is 341% higher than the national average. If you're a neighborhood that has like 500 people living there, you know, a couple bad days could really jump your crime rate, but they have 50,000 people living in Central West Denver. So their crime stats are well earned. Their schools also are rated an F. Their employment is really low. They actually have a poverty level that is 8% higher than the national average. And their cost of living is still above the national average. It's 9% above the national average. Their housing is about 21% higher than the national average. If you want to live here and buy something, it's all over the map. You could buy 1-bedroom apartments, actually purchase one kind of like a condo thing for about $250,000, but they have single family homes that are like $800,000, $500,000. It just makes no sense. If you want to buy a house here that's often mistaken as a shack, you're still looking at $300,000. So it's not just the crime stats that make this a bad neighborhood, it's what you're paying for what you're getting. So now we get to the section that I call stats that matter. These are the stats that people really look for when they're looking for a new city. And so that's usually crime stats, cost of living, and home prices. So these are just the averages for Denver. The total crime rate in Denver is 80% higher than the national average. Their violent crime rate is 97% higher. Some of those cities I mentioned before, like Detroit, their violent crime rate is 450% higher citywide. So that's scary. Denver's definitely not that bad. If you live in Denver for more than a year, you have a 1 in 23 chance of being the victim of a crime. Any crime. Doesn't have to be violent. Someone could have stole your tires off your car or something like that. When it comes to cost of living, Denver's cost of living is 4% higher than Colorado's cost of living and 16% above the national average. When it comes to housing, the Mile High City is 44% higher than the national average. Goods and services are about 12% higher. When you get to housing, this is the biggest turnoff for Denver for a lot of people. It's expensive to buy a house here. The average 3 to 4 bedroom home in fourth quarter 2021 went for about $600,000. That's 2 baths, 1,800 square feet. You can find cheaper houses. They're probably going to be older and you're going to have to do some work, but most of the newer ones and nicer ones are going to be $600,000 and above. It's not a cheap place to buy a house, and it's getting more expensive as we speak. I don't have the exact numbers for 2022 so far. We're only 14 days into it, but it's supposed to be climbing another 13% in 2022. When it comes to food in Denver, there's a couple places that you have to eat at, especially if you like tacos. There's Kika's Red Tacos, which is a taco truck that you will find at 5256 North Federal Boulevard in Denver. This is one of the better taco trucks I've ever eaten at. So good. The next place you gotta eat at is Biker Jim's Gourmet Dogs. Okay, so this is one of those places that just doesn't serve normal hot dogs. I mean, they've got like elk. Someone told me rattlesnake. I didn't try the rattlesnake. Of course, they got chicken and everything else like that. But this place has great hot dogs. Sausage, I should say. The only reason I showed up there is Anthony Bourdain. He went there one time on his food channel thing. Biker Jim's you'll find down on Laramie Street and 22nd, right by the corner there. After that, you want to stop at El Taco de Mexico or Mexico, whichever you want to call it. This place is just kind of a standard taco hut type place. It's pretty good. It's not a fancy place at all. They just serve really, really good Mexican food. If you haven't figured it out, Denver is filled with great Mexican food. They have all other types of food that are just great too, but these are the 3 places that I've eaten at that I've really enjoyed. And they come highly recommended, especially Kika's. When it comes to tourism in Denver, there's a lot of things to do. I mean, if you get past the sports, which they have the Colorado Avalanche, they have the Denver Broncos, and the Colorado Rockies. Those are all great, but let's just talk basic tourism stuff. You have the Denver Museum of Nature and Science. It's got all the basic stuff you'd expect from a museum about nature and science, including a giant gold nugget. Denver has a botanic gardens, if that's your thing. I have not been to this one, but I've heard great things. But I have been to the Denver Zoo. It actually opened in the late 1800s and is considered one of Denver's most popular tourist attractions. Last time I was there, they had some Siberian tigers, which I honestly thought at this point, and then I found out that was totally wrong. I heard Siberian tigers, but I never looked at it. I thought they were going to be white because Siberia is nothing but snow. Yeah, they look like normal tigers that actually happen to live in the snow. At least it's snowy there most of the time. You just, think tigers are going to be in tropical climates only, But no, here they are. You find them in Russia, Far East, Northeast China, and even North Korea, they think. These are all things that are great to do, but if you go to visit Denver, you're probably going there for some kind of outdoor activity, head out into the Rockies, something like that. There is a lot to do in the Denver area. Denver has a lot of famous people. Some of the most well-known ones are like Dog Chapman, Dog the Bounty Hunter. Real name's Dwayne. Tim Allen, the actor and comedian, he's from Denver. He left, though, when he was like 13 or 14 to a place called Birmingham, Michigan. Supreme Court Justice Neil Gorsuch, he's from Denver. His family moved to the East Coast in the 80s. He was born in 1967, so he was probably like 8th grade to sophomore in high school, somewhere in that area. A lot of people think Roseanne Barr is from Denver. She is not. She actually went there to visit a friend when she was like 17 or 18 and never came home. And that's where she started her comedy career. She's actually from Salt Lake City. So Denver is a great city. There's a couple things to consider if you're going there to visit or live. Denver is one of the most walkable cities in the United States. That's something that they're very into. Everyone walks around there. They also have 300 days of sunshine every single year. Everyone assumes because they're close to the Rockies, or like I said earlier, most people assume they are inside the Rockies, the mountains. They think it's going to be snowy all the time. No, it's actually, you're going to get plenty of sunshine. If you like parks, Denver has more than 200 parks with over 20,000 acres of parklands and nearby mountains. And it's also a very green city, so keep that in mind. So in conclusion, this is sort of Denver in a nutshell. It is a very expensive city. city. If you want to live there, you better have some money, a good job, whatever. It's also a highly educated city, filled to the rim with people with degrees, mountain bikes, and a love for the outdoors. If any of those things, kind of strike your fancy, maybe Denver's a good place you should move to. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Now go out, have a great day, be nice to each other.